Every lore video about the nine realms presents tears fall as a myth of fate. This one does not. Above cloud seas, Olympus gleams. Stirs that skull Asgard's halls burn gold, Jotunheim's peaks pierce stars, whispering lies Midgard's fjords bleed red. Shattered temple, what the shadow gods looms, not head destiny rolls, severed into black waters. Heimdall's blood stains these rocks, Lake of Nine Freya's lies magic stillness stirs that skull, shattered temple whispering lies, what the shadow gods looms buried here, not head destiny. A truth so sharp it could cleave the realms asunder. Tyr's temple was a throne of immortal kings, a sanctuary for truth. Its archives promised to bind the nine realms with unbroken memory. But the Aesir feared what those shelves might reveal. The Vanir, betrayed by treaties forged in blood, had no voice in this chronicle. Tyr's scribes erased their sorrows, redacting wars where gods raised gods. What remained were Lysidic's of unity, hymns to conquest. The lake's depths do not hold fate, they hold erasure, a history where the Aesir did not rise but stole their crown. If the Vanir's truth resurfaces, will the nine realms shatter, or will the gods drown it deeper? Tyr carved his temple into the bones of a forgotten world. He called it the Library of the Damned. A vault not for wisdom but for wounds. Odin saw it as a blade aimed at the throne. The Aesir had stolen their crown in blood. To let the Vanir's truth breathe was to let the nine realms burn. Tyr refused to silence the records. He refused to gnaw his own hand to appease a tyrant. Odin had his hand bound in iron, his name bound in shame. The archives were sealed beneath a lake of frozen time, not to preserve. To rot, yet the gods could not drown what they could not unmake, what flickers in the dark beneath the waves. A history that bends the spine of fate. A ledger of oaths broken, of children sacrificed, of wars waged not for glory but for theft. Tyr's defiance was not erased. It was entombed, waiting for a key the gods fear to lose. The nine realms stand on a lie. And every truth the Lake of Nine swallows rises again. Tyr's temple stood where the Aesir's oaths once gleamed like unbroken steel. Vanir sages and Aesir clerks wove tapestries of law beneath vaults carved with the names of forgotten kings. But in the library's deepest chamber, scrolls whispered of a war never fought, a peace never won. Odin's quills had inked lies into the bones of the world, binding gods and men to a fate that was no fate at all. Freya's grief, sharp as a mother's blade, had not slain Baldur. His death was no accident. The records showed how the Vanir queen cursed her son to expose the Aesir's deceit, a truth that could split Yggdrasil's roots. Tyr, guardian of justice, hid the scrolls in water-sealed caskets, fearing even the lake's depths might not hold what had buried. The gods raised the library at dawn. Fire consumed parchment, but ash cannot silence a secret. What Tyr knew what Freya's tears had tried to say still pulses beneath the nine realms. A lie this vast requires a death this vast. And when Ragnarok's flames rise, they will not burn for the first time. They will burn to hide what was never lost. The Lake of Nine's silence was not peace, it was a wound. Tyr had guarded more than Losh guarded the memory of gods who bled. When the Aesir demanded the archives burn, he refused. Fire would not unmake what was written in the blood of first kings. Odin's blade fell first, then his mask. The god who wore Tyr's face for centuries had no need for truth. He carved a new legend in ash. But Tyr's library was not stone. It was a ghost in the bones of the world. What did the false Tyr forget to lie? The archives did not hold prophecies. They held proof of the Aesir's theft of Vanir secrets, the forging of Midgard's chains, the price paid in starlight to bind Yggdrasil itself. A history that could not coexist with Odin's lies. The imprisoned god's fury did not die. It pooled in the roots of the world tree, waiting. Every war, every betrayal, every hollow sacrifice was a thread in Tyr's silent weaving. The Aesir thought they had buried him. They buried a storm, and when Ragnarok's flames rose, they did not consume. They revealed. The library was never lost, it was everywhere. In every shattered spear, every whispered oath, every scar on the earth where Tyr's truth still bleeds. What will you do when the lie you kneel to is a cage? The Lake of Nine's silence was not peace, it was a wound. Tyr had guarded more than Losh guarded the memory of gods who bled. When the Aesir demanded the archives burn, he refused. Fire would not unmake what was written in the blood of first kings. Odin's blade fell first, then his mask. The god who wore Tyr's face for centuries had no need for truth. He carved a new legend in ash. But Tyr's library was not stone. It was a ghost in the bones of the world. What did the false Tyr forget to lie? The archives did not hold prophecies. They held proof of the Aesir's theft of Vanir secrets, the forging of Midgard's chains, the price paid in starlight to bind Yggdrasil itself. A history that could not coexist with Odin's lies. The imprisoned god's fury did not die. It pooled in the roots of the world tree, waiting. Every war, every betrayal, every hollow sacrifice was a thread in Tyr's silent weaving. The Aesir thought they had buried him. They buried a storm, and when Ragnarok's flames rose, they did not consume. They revealed. The library was never lost, it was everywhere. In every shattered spear, every whispered oath, every scar on the earth where Tyr's truth still bleeds. What will you do when the lie you kneel to is a cage? Flames consumed Tyr's temple. Ashes smothered the brittle pages. What remained was not silence but a lie. Odin's blade did not fell Thor in battle. His father struck the final blow, severing the storm from the sky. The Aesir's crimes against the Vanir were not just erased, they were reimagined as virtue. Freya, in her grief, bargained with the dead. Mimir's head, still breathing, now guards the last gasps of truth. No scroll survives to name the vanquished gods. No stone remembers the blood spilled in the lake of Nine's shadow. Only Mimir's whispers remain, fragmented, feral, clinging to a history the Nine Realms were never meant to inherit. What did Tyr know that made his archives worth burning? The answer festers in the gaps between myths, a past where gods were not saviors but thieves. Where the Nine Realms were not born of order but of stolen time, stolen breath. The library's fall was not an accident. It was a burial, a scar, and in that scar Mimir's voice cracks. A single question unanswered, echoing through the void. Who else perished trying to hold the light? The stones still whisper, not in Tyr's voice, but in the gasp of a head kept alive by a goddess grief. Mimir's eyes open in the dark, his tongue twists around syllables no god should speak. What was buried here did not burn. It seeped into Freya's bargain, a curse traded for a head. Into the clay jar that hums with duality hope, a seed, ruin, its shadow. The Aesir feared a truth older than Yggdrasil's roots. Not fate, not war, a reckoning woven into the realm's fabric, a thread that could unravel creation's loom. The Pythos knew. Mimir's throat knew, and the Lacino, the void where knowledge drowned, knew the weight of what was stolen. Freya's tears did not preserve a scholar, they imprisoned a warning. Every word Mimir utters is a crack in the dam. The god's silence is a tomb, yet the void left a scar. In that scar a question lingers, what light remains when the keepers are ash? And who else besides the dead dared reach for it? Tyr, the lone Aesir who spoke truth to Odin's hunger. He carved laws in stone, not blood. But laws cannot hold what gods fear. Odin, once seeker of wisdom, became the thief of futures, his eye lost to a lie he could not unsee. Freya, Vanir queen, wove threads of what was taken at her hands, which nurtured life, cursed the son whose death sealed the library's fate. 3 names, 3 wounds, the Lake of Nine does not forget. Its waters mirror the day Tyr's archives burned, not from fire, but... The Lake of Nine does not forget. Its waters mirror the day Tyr's archives burned, not from fire, but from silence. A void where knowledge should have lived. The Pythos of Pandora, twin to the library's purpose, holds no simple curse. It cradles duality hope's spark, ruins shadow-bound in clay. So too were Tyr's scrolls, truths that could mend realms or shatter them. Mimir's head still murmurs in Yggdrasil's roots. Freya's tears did not still his tongue, only his breath. Asterisk what is buried, asterisk he warns, asterisk breeds. What is read awakens. Asterisk the Aesir sealed Tyr's works not to hide war, but to cage a heresy. A history where gods and giants shared blood, where fate's loom wove threads of choice, not chains. The library's fate is a wound. Not fire, not flood erasure, a name scraped from stone, a truth swallowed by the void. What if the 9 realms stand on a lie? What if hope and horror are the same seed, planted by the same hand? The Lake of Nine does not forget, it waits, and Mimir's voice grows louder. Truth is a blade that carves its own requiem. Tyr's temple did not burn for secrecy, but for what it refused to hide. The archives buried beneath the Lake of Nine were not erased by timesy, were drowned by the weight of their own knowing. Pandora's Pythos taught mortals that hope and ruin share the same breath. Tyr's library proved the same truth to the gods. Its shelves held no prophecies, no maps to Yggdrasil's roots. They held the memory of a cycle, how Jormungandr's coils would tighten not once, but again and again, how Atreus' blood would spill across ages to become the serpent's first and final meal. The Aesir feared what the mortals had already learned, that fate is not a thread, but a noose. When Tyr refused to silence the archives, the gods chose water over fire. Let the lake swallow the ink. Let the stones forget their letters. Let the truth sink until even Mimir's well could not drink it. Yet the Lake of Nine does not erase, it archives in silence. The stones wait, the water remembers. What is buried is not unsaid, and when the serpent's eyes open again, will the cost of truth still be worth the light? What truth did Tyr's archives hide, and why did the gods burn them? A history that could unmake the 9 realms. Freya, Vanir Queen, wove a curse into her son Baldur's blood, the price of his invulnerability, a future sealed in shadow. The Lake of Nine holds its breath, what wakes when the veil